Your elo needs medical attention. And today, you are learning how to win fast and effectively, so let's start with the Damiano Defence. You play e4. They match you with e5. You develop the knight to f3, asking a very simple question of that pawn, and then they play f6. This move is a famous disaster. Because are they begging to lose? It completely ruins their kingside. Look at this massive weakness from h5 all the way down to e8. You do not even blink here. Knight snaps on e5. You are tossing a full piece into the fire just to rip the position wide open. They have to accept, so f takes on e5. And now the trap slams shut. You play queen to h5, check. This is a brutal double attack. You are staring right down the throat of the king on e8 while also targeting that hanging pawn on e5. If they panic and try to block by pushing g6, the game is practically over. Queen takes on e5, check. You just created a devastating fork, hitting the king on e8 and that doomed rook over on h8. They are forced to cover the check, so they go bishop to e7. And you just let your queen pick up the rook. Queen grabs on h8. You are up a full exchange and say goodbye to their elo. Their position is a complete dumpster fire. Now, rewind back to that initial queen check, because you need to know how to handle their other option. What if they refuse to push the pawn and instead step the king to e7? They save the rook for now, but honestly, this guy is walking the plank. They are still completely lost. Queen takes on e5, check. The king is dragged out into the street, and stepping the king to f7 is their only legal move. Time to bring in the reserves with tempo. You go bishop to c4, check. This is a gorgeous developing move that lands on a dominant square and keeps the king running for its life. They have to slide the king to g6. You do not let off the gas for a single second. You play queen to f5, check. They are forced to step the king to h6. The king is now stranded on the edge of the board, so you push d4, check. This unleashes a lethal discovered attack from your dark-squared bishop, cutting a laser beam down the diagonal to h6. To survive that, pushing g5 is absolutely forced, but you just keep ripping open lines. You throw in h4. Their king has zero shelter left, and you are threatening to completely shatter the pawn structure on g5. If they try a desperate distraction, they go bishop to b4, check. You just calmly push c3. They try to bring the queen to e7 to hold their collapsing kingside together, but it is way too late for that. Your attack is unstoppable. Bishop takes on g5, check. They have to retreat the king to g7. You ruthlessly eliminate their best defender. Bishop takes on e7. Knight takes back on e7. You keep the hammer down. You play queen to f7. Check. The king is forced back to h6, and now you push g4. You just wove an inescapable mating net, threatening to push forward to g5 and end the game immediately. They might throw in a spite check. Bishop takes on c3, check. Knight recaptures on c3. They play rook to g8 to stop your pawn. You play queen to f6, check. They play knight to g6. You push g5, check. The king steps to h5, and you deliver the final blow. Send them back to the lobby. You go bishop to e2, checkmate. Now jump back to the moment you fork the king and rook to look at another defensive attempt. Instead of blocking with the bishop, they might try playing queen to e7. You still just let your queen grab on h8. They try to get some counterplay. Queen takes on e4, check. You just block. You go bishop to e2. Queen grabs on g2. You play rook to f1. They play knight to e7, but you are up massive material and completely winning. Okay, you need to go all the way back to the initial knight sacrifice to see what happens when they actually find black's best reply. The absolute best move for them is playing queen to e7. You just calmly retreat your knight to f3. They win their pawn back. Queen takes on e4, check. You block the check. You go bishop to e2. You are still doing great here, even without extra material, because their queen on e4 is awkwardly placed and will become a huge target. They might play d5 to grab some space. You just tuck your king away. You castle kingside. They go bishop to d6. Now you play rook to e1. This lines up perfectly against their queen on e4, creating a nasty x-ray all the way down to the king on e8. They play knight to e7. Now, you hit them with a massive problem. You go bishop to b5, check. This forces them to react while you keep that deadly tension on the e-file, staring right at e8. They push c6, and the trap snaps shut. Rook takes on e4. They recapture. D takes on e4. You just won a full queen, and the game is completely over. Now rewind to the position where they defended the center. Instead of retreating the knight, you play queen to h5, check, which looks incredibly tempting. They push g6. Here you might think you have a genius tactic. Knight snaps on g6. You are attacking the queen on e7 and the rook on h8, but it is a trap for you. Queen takes on e4, check. You go bishop to e2. Queen grabs on g6. They win the piece back, and just like that, you have absolutely nothing. Now, go back to that e-file pin to look at another escape attempt. They play queen to b4, which is their best try to break the pin. You instantly kick it. You push c3. They play queen to b6. Now you strike. You go bishop to c4, check. They play knight to e7. Bishop takes on d5. They cannot recapture because the knight is pinned to the king by your rook on e8. Plus, they cannot even castle because your bishop slices through g8. Now, rewind one last time to that exact same pin to see one more trick. What if they try to slide the queen to g6 to step out of the way? You punish this immediately. You go bishop to d3, check. This is a filthy discovered attack. Your rook is checking the king on e8, while your bishop hits the queen on g6. They play knight to e7. Bishop chops on g6, check. And that is exactly why this opening is an absolute nightmare to face. Now, reset the board to the starting position of the trap. Keep these lines in your back pocket, and you will completely crush anyone who tries to defend this way. Make sure to subscribe for more opening traps. Right out of the gate, you challenge the center and trigger the King's Gambit trap by pushing f4. You are literally offering a pawn to rip open lines and create absolute chaos from move 2. Black usually responds with a typical but losing mistake. They push f6. That completely weakens their kingside and exposes the critical diagonal leading straight to their king. Are they even awake? Because you immediately punish this slip-up. F takes on e5. They really should just develop a knight here and accept the lost pawn. But instead, F takes back on e5. This is the fatal error that opens the floodgates. You play queen to h5, check. This is devastating because you are simultaneously attacking the king on e8 and eyeing that loose pawn on e5. They are forced to step up, so they play king to e7. And the pressure builds. Queen takes on e5, check. The king is getting dragged right out into the open. Their monarch is doomed, so they have to run king to f7. You keep the momentum going and deliver check with bishop to c4, check. They are rapidly running out of safe squares and step king to g6. You play queen to f5, check. The hunt continues as they slide king to h6. Now you open up the dark squared bishop with a brutal discovered attack. You push d4, check. They desperately try to block the diagonal and push g5. You throw in h4. This completely shatters their pawn shield. There is absolutely no hiding now. They try to create a distraction and deliver check with bishop to b4, check. You calmly block it and push c3. They bring the queen out to defend, playing queen to e7. But it's too late. Bishop takes on g5, check. The king is completely stripped of defenders and retreats king to g7. You happily cash in. Bishop takes on e7. Bishop takes back on e7. You play queen to f7, check. They are forced right back into the corner with king to h6. Time to finish the job. Don't let them breathe. You tighten the mating net and push g4. They try to strike the center and play d5. You push g5, check. Bishop takes on g5. Then h takes on g5, check. The king is forced to step forward again, so king takes on g5. You play rook to h5, check. They play king to g4. And finally, you play queen to f3, checkmate. This trap is incredibly dangerous because it leaves their king hopelessly weak in exchange for that early pawn sacrifice. Okay, let's rewind to see what happens if they try to block that early check. If they push g6, you still punish them. Queen takes on e5. Check. They play queen to e7. Now queen takes on h8. This is a completely different scenario because you haven't given up any material, and you just want a clean rook in the corner. Enjoy your free elo. Back to this position. You actually have another crushing option. You play knight to f3. This move works perfectly because their king is so weak that checkmate is practically unstoppable. You are preparing to jump the knight to h4, slide the queen over to f5, or simply tuck your king away safely on g1. You can afford to take your time here. If they try to break out and play d5, bishop takes on d5. They develop bishop to d6. You play queen to d4. They play knight to f6. Now you castle kingside. This is absolutely lethal because your rook now has massive power down the f8 file, cutting off any hope of escape. Moving on from here, we enter the Scotch Gambit trap when they bring out knight to c6. You immediately strike the center and push d4. They accept the challenge. E takes on d4. Instead of recapturing the pawn right away, you go bishop to c4. This defines the Scotch Gambit, prioritizing rapid development and intense kingside pressure. They develop bishop to e7. You keep offering material to open lines and push c3. They get greedy. Like a moth to a flame, so d takes on c3. You immediately punish this greed and play queen to d5. This is a massive threat because you are lining up a direct checkmate on f7. They panic and play knight to h6, desperately trying to defend that critical f7 square. But you simply remove the defender. Bishop takes on h6. You are winning a clean piece here. They castle kingside. You go bishop to c1. Let's rewind to see what happens if they ignore the threat. If they play d6, it's game over. Queen takes on f7, check. They play king to d7. You deliver check with bishop to e6, checkmate. The bishop perfectly covers the d7 escape square. Back to this moment. If they try to recapture the piece and g takes on h6, they fall right back into the trap. Queen takes on f7, checkmate. Now from this position, let's look at the Scotch Gambit trap 2, which happens when they develop bishop to c5. This allows you to launch a vicious attack by jumping your knight to g5, combining with your bishop to target the weak f7 pawn and crash through on f7. You immediately execute the plan and play knight to g5. The pressure on f7 is immense, and your bishop is perfectly placed to support the strike on f7. They try to defend it and play knight to h6. You sacrifice the knight. Knight takes on f7. Knight takes back on f7. Then, bishop takes on f7, check. King takes on f7. You follow up with a brutal double attack, playing queen to h5, check. You are hitting the loose bishop on c5 while checking the king on f7. They push g6, queen takes on c5. You just got your piece back, and their king is stranded in the center. Let's rewind to see a different defensive try. If they play knight to e5, the tactical sequence is very similar. Knight takes on f7, knight takes back on f7, bishop takes on f7, check, king takes on f7. You launch the same fork with queen to h5, check. They push g6, queen takes on c5. Now they try to centralize and play queen to f6. They are eyeing the central square at d4, but your queen is already controlling d4 perfectly. This guy never learns. You develop with tempo and go bishop to g5. This immediately attacks their queen on f6. They play queen to d6. Queen takes on d6. Then c takes on d6. This leaves them with terrible tripled pawns on the d-file. To finish development, you bring out knight to a 3. They play a 6. You play knight to c4. From here, your knight is an absolute monster. It can leap to b6, creating forks against the bishop on c8 and the rook on a8, or it can simply chew up the weak pawn on d6. Your knight and bishop can easily attack their tripled pawns and weak dark squares. Plus, they can't castle. Their king is permanently weak, and you can castle whenever you want. The engine evaluation is completely winning for you here, and finally, the board resets. Alright, that's it for today, so make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's jump right into the Danish Gambit trap, where you take charge immediately. You push d4. They want that center pawn, so e takes on d4. Instead of taking back, you just offer them another one. You push c3. They accept the gift, and d takes on c3. But you still ignore the recapture, because you crave chaos and you develop bishop to c4. They get incredibly greedy here. C takes on b2. Finally, your bishop takes on b2. This is where the magic happens. You are down 2 full pawns, but look at the compensation. You have 2 absolute lasers cutting the board in half. Your dark-squared bishop is a monster, staring all the way down h8, while your light-squared bishop is locked onto g8. Plus, your central pawn is dominating d5 and f5, completely paralyzing their setup. Now, they might try to get cute, and they play queen to g5. Most players will just develop normally since they are already up material, but some guys just cannot resist hunting for that g2 pawn. Is their brain even on? Because you actually do not care about that threat at all. You just play knight to f3. Grabbing on g2 is a fatal mistake, and here is exactly how you punish it. Their queen takes on g2. You immediately hunt it down. You play rook to g1. Notice how their queen is completely out of squares. They play queen to h3, which is literally the only legal retreat. And now the fireworks begin. Bishop takes on f7, check. They have no choice. They play king to d8. You keep the foot on the gas as your other bishop takes on g7. Their bishop recaptures on g7, and your rook grabs on g7. They desperately try to untangle, bringing their knight to f6. You just keep turning the screws. You play knight to g5. They try to hold the position together with queen to h6. But you are not letting them breathe. You play knight to e6. Check. That d7 pawn is pinned to the king, so your knight is completely untouchable. They play king to e7. You deliver check with bishop to h5. Check. King takes on e6. You just keep chasing them. You deliver check with bishop to g4. Check. They play king to e5. You push f4, check. King takes on e4. You play knight to c3, check. King takes on f4. You play queen to d2, check. They play king to e5, and finally you drop the hammer. You play rook to e7, checkmate. Let's rewind a bit to this exact moment. What if they actually accept the bishop sacrifice? If king takes on f7, you make them regret it instantly. You play knight to g5, check. This is a lethal fork, hitting the king on f7 and the queen on h3. They play king to e8 and your knight snaps on h3. You just bagged a free queen. Jumping back to this position. What if they try a different defensive setup? If they attempt to stabilize by playing queen to h6, you still crush them. Send them to the shadow realm. Rook takes on g8, check. Rook recaptures on g8, then bishop takes on g8. You are up a clean piece and their position is completely falling apart. Let's look at one more critical branch right here. If they crack under the pressure and queen takes on g7, you do not even blink because their elo is literally crying for help. Knight recaptures on g7. Once again, you are up a full queen, and your opponent should probably just resign. Just to be incredibly thorough, let's check this spot. If their king tries to sprint away from the mating net, queen takes on h6. You grab the hanging piece, and the game is completely over. Now, shifting gears from this starting position, let's look at the Sicilian Trap. This kicks off when they strike with c5. You respond calmly. You play knight to f3. They play d6, fighting for that central control. You follow up by pushing c3. This is a super flexible system. You're getting ready to push d4 on the next turn, backed up perfectly by your pawn on c3. They play knight to f6. You will see this constantly because Sicilian players love attacking that e4 pawn immediately. But you can literally just ignore it. They think they are so smart. You go bishop to e2, setting a brilliant little trap. If they get greedy, knight takes on e4. Even titled players have fallen for this, assuming they just snatched a free central pawn. But it is a massive blunder. You immediately play queen to f4. Check. This is a brutal double attack. You are forking their king on e8, and that hanging knight on e4. They have to deal with the check. Usually they go bishop to d7, and then queen takes on e4. You just won a piece on move 5, and the game is basically yours. Let's rewind to this exact moment. Sometimes they smell the danger and instead they go bishop to d7. Now that e4 pawn is actually hanging because your queen check is covered. So you just play d3 to lock it down. They push g6 to fianchetto. You castle kingside, they go bishop to g7. You go bishop to e3, they castle kingside. You bring out knight to d2, they play knight to c6. And now you strike in the center. You push d4. You are gearing up to reroute that knight to e4 and launch an attack. They decide to release the tension, so c takes on d4. The c takes back on d4. You have a dream position here. Those two central pawns are absolute tanks, controlling everything. But there is a sneaky secondary trap hidden right here. If they try to pile on the pressure and they play queen to b6, you have a stunning tactical shot. You immediately push d5. This unleashes a nasty double attack. Your bishop is suddenly staring down their queen on b6, while your pawn is hitting the knight on c6. They have to rescue the queen, so queen takes on b2, but then d takes on c6. They save the queen, but you win a full piece and completely take over the board. And that leaves you in a totally winning spot right here. Alright, that's it for today. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more traps like this. Let's jump straight into the Greco Gambit. You want to apply immediate pressure, so you go bishop to c4. They answer by bringing their bishop to c5, staring right down your center. You don't wait around. You push c3 to prep a massive pawn expansion. They play knight to f6, attacking your e4 pawn. Do they think you care? You ignore that completely and push d4. That thrust forces the issue. Right in the middle of the board, e takes on d4, and c takes back on d4. Now they deliver check, so they play bishop to b4, check. You calmly block by bringing out knight to c3. They think they are winning free material here, so knight takes on e4. Suddenly, they are threatening to crash through on c3 with both the bishop on c3 and the knight on c3. Instead of panicking, you castle kingside. You are offering a massive sacrifice to accelerate your attack. Knight takes on c3, and b takes on c3. Then bish takes on c3. Then bishop takes on c3, hitting your rook. Here is the brilliant follow-up. You play bishop to a3. Leaving that rook hanging in the corner might look completely crazy, but it is actually a lethal trap. This guy is about to cry. They get greedy and bishop takes on a 1. You immediately punish them. You play rook to e1, check. Notice how perfectly your pieces coordinate now. The rook slices down the e-file towards e8, while your dark-squared bishop completely paralyzes their king by controlling f8. Because of that pin, they are forced to block, so they play knight to e7. Bishop takes on e7, and queen takes back on e7. Now, rook takes on e7, check. King takes on e7, and finally, queen takes on a 1. The dust has settled, and while the material is technically equal, their king is incredibly weak and stuck in the center. None of their queenside pieces are active, so you are completely winning. Let's rewind the board to look at a slightly different move order for this variation. From this position, you can also start the sequence by having your rook take on e7, check. Queen takes back on e7, then bishop takes on e7, and king takes on e7, just like before. Queen takes on a 1, leaving you with a dominant position and a stranded enemy king. We need to go back again to see what happens if they try to ignore the bishop in this line. If they push d6 to open lines, it fails instantly. Bishop takes on d8, check. King takes on d8 and queen takes on a 1. You are up a full queen for a rook and the game is effectively over. Now let's reset and explore the Greco Gambit 2 variation, where you play queen to b3. You are ignoring the threat on your rook entirely. They take the bait, and bishop takes on a 1. You immediately strike. Bishop takes on f7, check. They are forced to slide their king, so they play king to f8. You calmly play rook to e1, preparing to swing it into the attack. Trying to survive, they push d6 to free their queenside pieces. You reposition your bishop, so you play bishop to h5, keeping an iron grip on the dark squares. They play queen to d7, trying to untangle their position. You lift your rook, so you play rook to e4. From here, you are aiming to swing it across the 4th rank towards f4 to build a mating net. Your opponent is sweating bullets. They push h6 to stop any knight jumps. Keeping the pressure up, you play queen to e3, eyeing the kingside weaknesses. They push g6, hoping to blunt your bishop, but you just smash through. Bishop takes on g6. They step their king, so they play king to g7. You bring out knight to h4, adding more fuel to the fire. They retreat their queen, so they play queen to d8, desperately trying to hold things together. You play queen to g3. The coordination here is absolutely terrifying. Your queen is staring down the king on g7. Your bishop controls the escape route at h5. Your knight is ready to jump into f5, and your rook can swing over to g4 or drop down to e8. Wake up and smell the checkmate. With all these threats converging, you will go on to win easily. Let's reset the board and look at the Greco Gambit 3 line, where you aggressively push e5. You are immediately kicking the knight and claiming space on f6. They play knight to g4. You calmly respond. C takes on d4. They answer with a check, so they play bishop to b4, check. You block by bringing out knight to c3. Seeking shelter, they castle kingside, getting their king to safety. You castle kingside as well. They push d6, challenging your strong center. You throw in h3, asking the knight where it wants to go. Bishop takes on c3, and b takes on c3. They retreat their knight, so they play knight to h6. You develop bishop to g5, pinning the knight. Feeling the heat, they play knight to e7 to break the pin. You play rook to e1, centralizing your heavy piece. They play bishop to e6, trying to stabilize. You push d5, kicking the bishop again. Your attack is completely unstoppable here. They play bishop to d7. You strike decisively. E takes on d6. That capture opens the e-file and creates massive pressure with your rook aiming at e7 and your bishop also targeting e7. They respond. C takes on d6. Bishop takes on e7. This is a devastating fork, hitting both the queen on d8 and the rook on f8. You are up a piece and will win a rook too, completely crushing their position. Alright, that's it for today, so make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Finally, let's reset the board to the starting position. Let's jump right into the absolute chaos of the Grob opening. You immediately throw the pawn forward. Because you choose violence today, and you play g4, it is a wildly provocative way to start the game. Black naturally wants to claim that central space, so they push d5. You follow up by fianchettoing. You develop bishop to g2. This leaves your flank pawn completely hanging, and they usually accept the gift as bishop takes on g4. But now, you strike back at their central control. You strike with c4 to immediately challenge their setup. This creates massive tension, putting them under serious pressure because you are threatening to capture on d5, while your bishop is secretly eyeing that weak pawn on b7. They decide to solidify their structure, so they play c6. You keep the momentum going. C takes on d5. They have to respond, so C takes back on d5. Now, you bring your queen out to a very aggressive square. You play queen to b3. You are keeping the attack alive by creating a nasty double threat. You are simultaneously targeting the pawn on b7 and adding heavy pressure to the center on d5. They try to shut down that central pressure, so they push e6. This move might look completely regular because it defends the d5 pawn and blunts your bishop. But you are absolutely crushing here. Did they forget how chess works? Because they completely ignored their bishop on g4. You deliver a devastating fork. You play queen to a4, check. Look at the geometry of this attack. Your queen is hitting the king on e8, and at the exact same time, it is attacking that loose bishop on g4. They are forced to block the check, so they play queen to d7, and now you just collect the free piece. Queen takes on g4. Most people say, this is a bad opening, but you never know unless you try it and catch them completely off guard. Okay, let's rewind to see what happens if they get greedy. Instead of defending, black decides to grab your pawn. D takes on c4. This is a massive blunder. The long diagonal is now wide open, and bishop takes on b7. You are immediately threatening to win the trapped rook sitting in the corner on a8, and their position is already falling apart. Rewind to this position. Let's explore another wild line in the Grob 2 variation, where black decides to grab maximum space in the center. They push e5. You ignore their central presence and just keep pushing your flank pawn. You push g5. They see a free pawn and take it. Queen takes on g5. You immediately punish them for leaving the center undefended. Bishop takes on d5. They need to develop and attack your bishop, so they play knight to f6. You calmly bring out your own piece. You play knight to f3. Now they get extremely aggressive and dive into your position. They play queen to g2. This move looks incredibly strong because it is attacking your rook on h1, and your bishop on d5 is still hanging. But they are actually in a lot of trouble here because of your next move. You completely ignore the threat to your rook and launch a brutal counterattack. Bishop takes on f7, check. They have no choice but to accept the sacrifice. King takes on f7. Now you save your rook with the tempo. You play rook to g1, attacking their queen. They have to retreat, so they play queen to h3. And here comes the crushing blow. Prepare to ruin their day as you play knight to g5, check. This is a devastating royal fork. Your knight is hitting the king on f7 and simultaneously attacking their exposed queen on h3. They are forced to step away. They play king to e8. You simply collect the massive prize. Knight takes on h3, and you have won a queen right out of the opening. Let's reset the board and look at a completely different trap in the Lemberg Gambit. You start by grabbing the center. You push d4. Black responds flexibly. They play knight to f6. Now you play a slightly unusual developing move. You play knight to d2. This is not a move you see every day, but it still happens once in a while to avoid certain main lines. They immediately challenge your setup with a central strike. They push e5. You accept the gambit. D takes on e5. They jump forward to attack that pawn. They play knight to g4. You decide to kick that annoying piece away. You throw in h3, but instead of retreating, they dive deeper into your position. They play knight to e3. Suddenly, your queen is trapped on d1 with nowhere to go. Is this guy a genius? You are forced to eliminate the intruder. F takes on e3. But this opens up a fatal weakness on the king side. They immediately exploit it. They play queen to h4, check. You try to block the attack. You push g3, but it is completely useless. Queen takes on g3, checkmate. A brutal punishment for weakening the light squares. From here, let's switch gears and look at a famous trap in the Caro-Kann defense. Black prepares to strike the center. They push c6. You develop naturally. You bring out knight to c3. They execute their main idea. They push d5. You continue your development. You play knight to f3. They decide to resolve the central tension. D takes on e4. You recapture the pawn. Knight takes on e4. They challenge your centralized piece immediately. They play knight to f6. Now you set a very sneaky trap. You play queen to e2. They want to develop their queen side, so they play knight to d7. This looks like a completely normal developing move. But your ELO is about to feast, because it is a fatal mistake. You jump in and deliver the final blow. You play knight to d6, checkmate. The e7 pawn is absolutely pinned by your queen on e8, resulting in a beautiful smothered checkmate right in the opening. Let's rewind to see another way black can fall for this exact same concept. Instead of the knight, they try to develop their light-squared bishop. They go bishop to d7. It doesn't matter. The pin on the e-file is still deadly, and you execute the exact same punishment. You play knight to d6, checkmate. Jumping to this position, let's examine a slightly different move order in the Caro-Kann 2 variation. You take full control of the center. You push d4. Black strikes back immediately. They push d5. You defend your e4 pawn. You bring out knight to c3. They trade pawns. D takes on e4. You recapture the central pawn. Knight takes on e4. This time, they develop their bishop to an active square. They go bishop to f5. You set up the exact same tactical motif. You play queen to e2. They try to complete their minor piece development. They play knight to d7. And once again, do they ever learn? They step right into the trap. You play knight to d6, checkmate. Another smothered checkmate because that e7 pawn simply cannot move. From this position, Let's look at how things can go horribly wrong for you in the Sicilian wing gambit. You try to deflect their c-pawn right away. You push b4. Black happily accepts the sacrifice. C takes on b4. You offer another pawn to open lines. You push a 3, but they ignore it and strike at the center. They push d5. You decide to trade central pawns. E takes on d5. They recapture with a powerful centralized piece. Queen takes on d5. Now you finally take back on the queen side. It takes on b4, but this allows a devastating double attack. They play queen to e5. Check. This is a complete disaster for your position. Their queen is checking your king on e1 and simultaneously attacking your completely undefended rook in the corner on a 1. You are forced to block the check. You develop bishop to e2, and they just collect the massive material advantage. Queen takes on a 1. They win a rook for absolutely nothing, leaving your position in ruins. Let's reset the board to look at the next setup. Alright, that's it for today. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more chess traps. Let's look at the absolute disaster known as the Fool's Mate. This is how you lose a game before your coffee even gets cold. You completely expose your king right out of the gate. You push f3. Are you actively trying to lose? That instantly creates a massive draft on the e1 to h4 diagonal. Black happily grabs the center. They play e5. Suddenly their queen and bishop are staring down those open lines. Instead of fixing that glaring weakness, you double down on the madness. You push g4. This is the fatal blunder. You just stripped away the last shred of pawn cover your king had left. They punish you on the spot. They play queen to h4. Checkmate. That queen just slices right down the exposed diagonal, landing the final blow directly on e1. 2 moves and you are completely dead. This is exactly why king safety is not optional. Let's reset the board and check out the legendary legal mate trap. The setup starts when black plays d6. This is the Damiano Defence. It is solid but a little passive, giving you a totally free hand to develop. You bring out knight to c3. They want to restrict your options. They push h6. That little pawn move is just trying to cover the g5 square. You completely ignore that and focus on your own pieces. You go bishop to c4. Notice how that bishop points straight at their weakest point on f7. They decide to get aggressive and pin your knight. They go bishop to g4. This guy thinks he is a genius. It looks super annoying, but they just walked into a brutal tactical sequence. Here's the trap. Knight takes on e5. You just break the pin by hanging your queen in broad daylight. They think you just mouse-slipped in real life. Bishop takes on d1. Your queen is gone, but this is a perfectly calculated sacrifice. You strike the weak point immediately. Bishop takes on f7. Check. Their king has 0 escape squares on the back rank, forced to step up into the open. They play king to e7, and you close the net. You play knight to d5. Checkmate. Their king is totally suffocated by your minor pieces. Now, for something completely ridiculous with the blocked bishop's mate, you kick things off. You play king to b4. This board state is literally impossible in a real game, but it highlights a crazy geometric concept. You are up 93 points of material, but your entire army is paralyzed. Black just waits you out. They go bishop to a7, wandering aimlessly because you have no other legal moves. You play king to a5. They slowly walk their king over. They play king to d2. You drop back. You play king to b4. They slide closer. They go bishop to b6. You step down. You play king to a3. Now they start tightening the noose. They deliver check with bishop to c5. Check. Forced into the corner. You play king to b2. They reposition. They go bishop to f8. You tuck yourself away. You play king to a1. And they drop the hammer. They play bishop to g7. Checkmate. Your entire army is just watching this happen. You just got mated while up 93 points of material. The joke is that every single one of your light-squared bishops is stuck in the worst traffic jam in chess history. Looking at this slightly altered setup, you can see the blocked bishop's mate-2 pattern. Here, black has a much faster way to end your misery. They go bishop to b6. That immediately builds a wall around your king, forcing you straight to the edge and cutting off the center. With literally nowhere else to step, you play king to a3, and they deliver the final blow instantly. They play bishop to c5, checkmate. That dark squared bishop slices right down the diagonal, hitting your king directly on a 3. Your own pieces are the ones trapping you, since your only escape square is blocked by your own bishop on b2. It is a hilarious example of your own material working against you. Alright, that's it for today, so make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more chess traps.